When you go to school, it's kind of like you're in American society, but when you're going back home, you're speaking a different language, and it's like, I guess it's different. Like the food's different, the language you're speaking is different, and the way that they raise you is different too.
People say that actions and words define you, but culture is how you live. It's a lifestyle.
So culture is definitely a huge aspect of who you are, but I don't think it's everything. Like it dictates a lot of things, and I don't know, it's just like if you have OCD or something, it dictates a huge part of your life, but it's not everything, you know?
Sometimes I was thinking about this the other day, like I don't know which one is like me, because I can't be like, oh, I'm more like this one or I'm more like that one, like, because I'm not.
Because you're born and raised to be a specific way, and then you have to come to this school and then you realize like I have to act a certain way with other people than you have to do with your family.
I think culture is a lot of what makes up your identity because it's what you grow up with. Your culture is mainly like what influences you at home, at least a lot of the time.
My parents are from Nigeria and they didn't really know how to raise us in America. So like going to school in America is like different than like being raised as a Nigerian because like it's two different cultures.
Yeah, there's like a lot of different things. Like you have like the food, like it's kind of like different. Like, all right, like most American food is just like, you know, like I guess meat based and like hamburgers and things like that. Like that's all American. But then like we have our own things that like are different from everybody else's.
When you are coming here from a different country, you're very much a full-formed person already. You've already created your beliefs, you are comfortable in your environment, and I think that coming here is hard because you have to adapt yourself to this new place. You have to see where you fit in, I guess, is the thing. But I think when you're a first-generation person, you're figuring out who you are. Like, you're figuring out, you know, where you stand between these two places because you have a foot in each. Like, you know, your parents are very much Filipino and your children are going to be American. With all that changing, it's so hard to be a first-generation kid right now. You're learning what parts of the old you value and want to bring into the new, but also what parts of the new align with your beliefs. And I think that they're very different. It's not one is easier than the other. Immigration is hard. It's not easy. But also, being a first-generation kid is hard because it's like, who are you going to be true to? And how do you know that you're being true to yourself?
I want to pronounce your name like the way that your people say it.
I knew when it was coming.
Zair. I know in their minds, as they were reading it, they were like thinking to themselves like, oh, there's no way I'm going to be able to pronounce this correctly.
Nagulian, Mr. Nijan, Mr. Nagugian.
Oh, look, there's soybean. I've had Bianca, I've had Brianka.
I remember my 8th grade teacher calling me Hamas. Very much.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah, we're talking about that.
I wish that I could have a Lunchables at school every single day. Mom, make me Lunchables, make me Lunchables. And she'd be like, well, I am not a corporation that is going to feed you 3,000 milligrams of sodium. Here is a completely organic meal. And I'd be like, that is crap. I want Doritos. Ugh, my cold bladder smelling ethnic food again. Get it out of here.
No problems on that front. I ate all the normal stuff. I did see other kind of Indian kids or Chinese kids bring their stuff in, and I remember being like, that's weird.
Sleepovers! What is that? Well, I don't know what a sleepover is. Sleepovers for me were basically, you're gonna go over to their family's house and sleep. Right. Yeah. Everyone in their family is gonna rape you. We just didn't talk about dating in general, because that's not a thing. There's no dating.
You can't date, you can't date, you can't date, you can't date, and then one magical day, when are you getting married?
My mom was like embrace your hoitude from a young age. There's like meeting people, and then 3 days later you're married.
I mean, implicitly it was no dating white girls, no dating white girls, no dating white girls, no dating white girls. When are you getting married?
You have a house, why would you like choose to sleep in the woods?
Civilization left the woods behind, so why go back?
It was awesome. I had an engineer father. Like, we solar fried hot dogs. Halal hot dogs.
These are the words.
Hello! White kids never.
I am from like an Indian store or a Chinese store.
Yeah! Oh, each other. Okay. Can you hear me? Hi. Khudafiz.
Oh yeah.
That was it.
It's like hi, Amachi. Yeah, Zach. Yeah, I'm doing good.
Yeah, international calling is the best thing ever.
They're speaking Malayalam to me. I don't know how to respond. And I'm like, Mom, they asked me, how am I doing? What should I say? And she's like, say this. It's like, okay. And then I would have to continue. It's like, okay, here's Mummy. Hold on.
For me, it's just like, hey, I'm like, hey, they're like, how's school? I'm like, what? How's school? What? How's school? Oh yeah, that's good. I want to talk to my dad. like I just get one question and it's, do you want to talk to any parent, anybody who's older than me?
Or sometimes I would give it to my brother and sister so they would have to go through it.
Yeah.
It was like Shawnee States are here too.
It was like awkward for me though because a lot of people remembered me, but I didn't remember them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's the thing.
Oh, Daniel, it's your tears like, hi.
When I was a kid, I remember my mom would like pack me like chicken and rice for lunch, and like people were like, "What is that?" I was like, "Well, it's just chicken and rice." And then I kind of like felt ashamed to bring that to school because like people would always like look at my chicken and rice, and I'd look at their Lunchables and their sandwiches, and I'd be like, "Well, I don't have the same thing."
Oh my god, yes! Yes! That's exactly it. Like I stopped packing lunch like so early because like I started buying lunch in like the 3rd grade. Like I'm not doing this anymore.
Because I was like very like integrated bilingual, there were some words that were Filipino and I'm like, wait a minute, that's not English? Like there's this word for a spoonful. And I didn't learn it was a spoonful. Like I didn't learn that the word for subo was spoonful until like the 8th grade. I was like, what is the word for this?
Yesterday at my meet, the ref was trying to say my last name and he was like, Baba Baba Baba. Everyone was like, and I was like, Baba Sunday, and he was like, oh, okay. I heard like this one radio guy I was listening to. He was like, I never beat my child. Like I spanked my kid on the butt one time when he was throwing food in a restaurant, and I couldn't sleep for 3 days. I'm like, what? Like I would.
They really think it's wrong.
Yeah.
Like no, that taught me stuff. Like no, don't do that again.
My mom gives me the stare, and like I'm like, oh.
Yeah, your mom stares.
She knows about my mom's stare.
Sticks like.
I strictly got a wooden spoon.
Wooden spoon.
Like
I've had to go to a tree, break up a
Right, you gotta find your own stick. You gotta, if it's not good enough, like you gotta find
like legit, I broken off a stick, giving it to my mom. My mom's hit me with it, it broke, and she's like, you didn't pick a good stick. And I'm like, sorry?
So like there's the idea that like if you have lighter skin, that means you're of a higher status, that means you like stay indoors and you don't have to work. And if you have darker skin, that means you're out in the fields and you're working, and that's kind of the stigma that comes with having darker skin. And my dad and like my parents would try to impress that on the rest of us.
A lot of the older generations in my family, like my grandparents and my uncles, they all have really dark skin. And me, looking really pale, they're always like, oh, don't go out into the sun, like, wear sunscreen, like, don't get darker, you look fine.
This is what makes me feel like I look like I'm Filipino, like my nose. It's like I feel like if I change it, people think, oh, like what are you? Like they're not gonna know what I am. And like I don't want to get rid of being Filipino. I just hate my nose.
No, my nose, like my flat nose, like my mom always gave me a hard time about it because like noses, yes.
If I had to pass something down to my kids from my culture, it would be definitely parts of the language, even though it would be really hard for me because I'm sadly forgetting Bulgarian. I would try as best as I can to at least teach them about it and to teach them about the language because it's so different and because so that they can understand some part of me at least.
I mean, Filipinos are very religious and very like family oriented, and I think that in terms of passing it on to my kids, I think the spirituality is like the very important part for me because they're very in touch with like being thankful for this life that they're given. And if anything, I'd love to pass that on because I know my kids are going to be their own people too. You know, like they're going to have their own struggles with my culture and their grandparents' culture and like the new culture because America's always constantly changing as well.
So I would want my kids to experience like Chinese New Year, and then Christmas is always the same except that instead of waking up every morning to open your presents, we do it Christmas Eve midnight. That's when we open all of our presents.
Definitely food. The food is freaking awesome because, you know, I have my priorities set straight. Also, like, I would really like my kids to speak Chinese, hopefully. I really, like, I can write and read some Chinese, but not a lot, and, like, I'm trying to, like, my mom used to force me to, like, read and write Chinese and, like, try to learn it, and she would buy, like, textbooks for me and stuff, but obviously, like, I didn't want to.
Like, when my parents came, they were, like, big on family. It's like they they were always together. Like my dad and his two younger sisters, they were like always together. Like they lived together for like a year, and they were just always together. And like to this day, like they're still close. So like I think like when I get married and I have kids, like I want to stay close with all my cousins and like my brothers and sisters, or my brother and sister.
Along with that, like family, like also like they will help anyone out. Wait, what?
What? No.
They will help anyone out even if we're not blood related. So like families, like just anyone, you know, like so I want to pass down that aspect too.
I think all of us who migrated here, the whole purpose of it is you know, for the betterment of our like family, right? For the kids to have a better opportunities and have a better life. Leaving home and starting a new life here, we hope it's all worth it when someday we see our kids that, you know, they're happy, have a better life. Also, that's one more thing that's important that we learned along the way, that no matter where you are, no matter where you go, as long as you're with your family and you're together and your kids are happy, then it becomes home.
So whatever it is, my dad always tells me, if you do something, you have to do something better. You are right now in the land of opportunities, right? As they say, you know, somebody came to America with $1 and they became famous, right? And that's always true even to this age. So to me, take advantage of the resources, take advantage of the technology, take advantage of what America is offering you, because you can never have the same opportunity anywhere else except America.
I hope that you would not forget who you are, who you are. You're an American, but you're a Filipino American.
My name is Lena and I'm a Vietnamese American.
My name is Aneta Rusinova and I'm a Bulgarian American.
I'm Sam and I'm a Filipino American.
My name is Melanie Holt and I am a Cambodian American.
You feel a little shameful when you're like, my parents are embarrassing because they're foreign, you know, because they can't speak the language, because they don't know how to act in social situations. And I remember it's a hard struggle because you're embarrassed by them and you can't help it, but you're embarrassed for feeling embarrassed too. It's something that I think you have to go through. You have to go through the embarrassment to realize that there's absolutely nothing to be embarrassed about. You have to go through feeling ashamed of yourself for feeling embarrassed to understand that, you know, they're the strongest people you've ever met. They are doing the hardest thing in the world. They're going to a new country with no friends, no family, no job prospects, just to do the one thing in the world is take care of you. And I think that once you realize that that's what they're doing, it's more heroic, it's more amazing, it's more loving. You realize that that's a different kind of love. And it's funny because I remember thinking, you know, my dad was never, like, you know, I was never on my dad's shoulders watching the fireworks of the 4th of July parade or anything. But they're affectionate in their own way, and almost more so because it's all actions and no words. I used to be embarrassed that my mom, you know, never like hugged me goodbye and like called me honey and sweetie, but she worked her butt off to give me the kind of education that I can have. And I think part of growing up is realizing that that is, in its own way, a kind of love that you can never find anywhere else. An immigrant kind of love, because that's how they know to love you. But I think that that's not something someone can tell you to do. They can't tell you to be like, you know, you should appreciate your parents more. It's something you have to learn, and once you do, it's pretty unbelievable. I mean, the extraordinary thing I think is that every day is a learning experience, which is unique. It's not something anyone else can ever have, which puts you, you know, in a pretty special place.
Cute! Oh, Dad!
Is this really a documentary or is
Are you
this
just pulling?
Okay.